The Revelation Explained by F.G. Smith, Chapter 17, Part 2. We begin with the Book of Revelation, Chapter 17, verses 7 through 14. And the angel said unto me, Wherefore didst thou marvel? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman and of the beast that carriest her, which hath the 7 heads and 10 horns. The beast that thou sawest was, and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit, and go into perdition. And they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was, and is not, and yet is. And here is the mind which hath wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains, on which the woman sitteth. And there are 7 kings. 5 are fallen, and 1 is, and the other is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space. And the beast that was, and is not, even he is the 8th, and is of the 7, and goeth into perdition. And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. These have one mind, and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. These shall wage war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is Lord of lords, and King of kings, and they that are with him are called, and chosen, and faithful. We continue now with the commentary. The angel promises to explain the mystery of the woman and of the beast that carried her. The beast is the same as the secular beast with 7 heads and 10 horns described in chapter 13. An explanation of its heads and horns has already been given. The expression, the 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth, and there are 7 kings, requires further explanation. Many have understood the mountains to signify the 7 mountains on which the city of Rome is said to be built, but that is adopting the literal mode of interpretation, and is contrary to the laws of symbolic language. The more obvious meaning is that the 7 heads represent 7 mountains, and also 7 kings. But this probably is not the idea intended. The heads of a beast are not the proper symbol of mountains. The fact, too, that the woman is represented as sitting upon these mountains shows that they are to be taken as a symbol, as well as the woman, and not the object symbolized. They are, then, the same as the heads, and denote the 7 kings or 7 forms of government under which the Roman Empire subsisted. The 7th and last head has not yet been identified. Before considering it, however, I wish to call attention to another point that has already been referred to. The beast that John here saw, with the 7 heads and 10 horns, was Rome under the papal power. Did New Rome in reality have the 7 heads? No. The dragon John saw in chapter 12 is represented as having 7 heads and 10 horns, and signified Rome under the pagan power. Did old Rome really possess the 10 horns? No. According to verse 12 in this chapter, they were to arise future of John's time. But notice carefully that the 7 heads, which, according to this description, belonged to the beast sustaining the papal power in after years, are here explained by the angel as signifying the very forms of government by which pagan Rome subsisted. 5 are fallen, a past event. 1 exists at this present time, and the other is not yet come. So according to divine interpretation, the same heads and horns serve for both the dragon and the beast. This could not possibly be a true representation unless they were both in reality the same beast, they being represented as 2 only for the purpose of describing the 2 phases of Roman history, pagan and papal. With this point established that these 2 forms of Roman history are the same beast, we are now prepared to understand the statement that the beast was and is not and yet is. This is equivalent to saying that the beast existed, it ceased to exist, and then it came into existence again. This was exactly the history of Rome. Its downfall under the pagan form was described under the 4th trumpet as an eclipse of the sun, moon, and stars, so that they shone not for a 3rd part of the day and night. For a time it seemed not to exist. A little later the eclipse is lifted, the beast exists again under the papal form. In this is set forth clearly the wounding and the healing of the beast. The wound was inflicted on its 6th or imperial head, for the first 5 had already fallen, according to the historical facts just related, being accomplished by the hordes of northern barbarians overturning the empire of the West. It appeared for a time that the beast was indeed wounded unto death, but not so. To the surprise of all, he survived under the form of the 7th head. At this point, the question is sure to be asked: how could the beast continue to live if its 7th head was to continue but a short space? This is accounted for by the fact that there was what might be appropriately called an 8th head, but which was in reality of the 7. And the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th, and is of the 7, quoted from verse 11. The identification of the 7th head will now make the matter complete. The facts all meet in Carlovingian Empire, or the Empire of Charlemagne. In the year 774, Charlemagne completed the work begun by Pepin 20 years before and overthrew the kingdom of the Lombards in Italy, which was the last of the 3 horns plucked up before the little horn of Daniel. By this victory he became complete master of Italy, and he received the title Patrician of Rome. This was not merely an honorary title, such as had for ages been conferred upon certain individuals, but it was a distinct form of civil government and supreme, taking the same rank with that of the consular, the decemvirate, the triumvirate, etc. in the earlier history of the nation. It lasted, however, only a short space, or 26 years. When Charlemagne, having extended his conquests over all the western part of Europe, assumed the imperial title and thus received the Empire of Rome in the west under its Gothic form. In his Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire, Gibbon says, quote, "In the 26 years that elapsed between the conquest of Lombardy and his imperial coronation, Rome, which had been delivered by the sword, was subject, as his own, to the scepter of Charlemagne. The people swore allegiance to his person and family. In his name money was coined, and justice was administered, and the election of popes was examined and confirmed by his authority. Except an original and self-inherent claim of sovereignty, there was not any prerogative remaining which the title of emperor could add to the patrician of Rome." End quote. This decisive testimony by the highest authority on the subject shows conclusively that all the power of sovereignty resided in Charlemagne as the patrician of Rome, and that this, therefore, is a proper head to be ranked with the other 6 that preceded it. This head, however, continued only a short space, and an 8th arose on Christmas, the first day of the year 800, as time was then reckoned, when Charlemagne was crowned Emperor of Rome, and thus revived the Empire of the West. This 8th head, however, was of the 7, for it was the same as the 6th, both being imperial, the first being in the Augustan line, and the other in the Carlovingian, I cannot say that word, Carlovingian, and separated from each other by the 7th, or patriciate. Considered one way, there were 8 heads, but 2 of them were alike, hence only 7, for the 8th was of the 7. According to verse 11, it was under the 8th head that the beast subsisted at the time he was carrying the woman of this chapter, which exactly accords with the historical facts in the case. And the same was continued in a line of emperors reaching down to the time of the French Revolution. The 10 horns had received no kingdom as yet. This signifies that at the time when the revelation was given, they had not yet arisen. When they did come into existence, they were to receive power as kings with the beast, and were to give to it their power and strength. It is a singular fact that a distinct head should continue to exist after these horns had arisen and developed into powerful kingdoms. But herein the remarkable accuracy of prophecy is clearly shown. It is said that they should make war with the Lamb, and that the Lamb should overcome them. Some think that this has reference to the persecution of the saints during the Dark Ages, but it seems to me that it would have been stated differently if such were its meaning. It may be a prophetical reference to the Battle of Armageddon, which will be terminated by the coming of the Son of God himself to overthrow completely all the powers of wickedness. We continue now with the book of Revelation, chapter 17, verses 15 through 18. And he saith unto me, The waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are peoples, and multitudes, and nations, and tongues. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire. For God hath put in their hearts to fulfill his will, and to agree, and give their kingdom unto the beast, until the words of God shall be fulfilled. And the woman which thou sawest is that great city, which reigneth over the kings of the earth. We continue now with the commentary. The special thoughts contained in these verses have been so far explained already that it is unnecessary to go over the same ground again. Already the civil powers of Europe are beginning to cast this woman aside as an old, wrinkled, haggard prostitute is cast off by her lovers. Already they have deprived her of all temporal authority, such as she possessed in guiding this beast of chapter 17, as explained under the 5th plague in the preceding chapter. Whether they are destined to become a still greater enemy to her, the future will determine. This concludes chapter 17.